Right, let's spin the baby around and we shall start this epic journey. Hi, I'm Steve from 1233D. Today we shall be performing the upgrade that PRUSA have released for the PRUSA MK4, and we shall be upgrading it to the PRUSA MK4S. I will open the contents of the box, lay them all out on the table and explain what said pieces are as and when I do. So first off, we have a new surround for the screen for the MK4S. This is now an injection molded part. As some of you that own a PRUSA MK4 are aware, there isn't currently a back on the 3D printed faceplate. This is fully enclosed, and you have also included in here a injection molded rotary knob as well. We have a small bag of Haribos. Apparently this is only a small bag because this is claimed to be a relatively simple, straightforward, quick and easy job. We have a MK4S serial number, which we will need to fit to the machine once we have completed the said steps. We also have a 3D printing handbook with, yes, you guessed it, PRUSA stickers. We have the very handy PRUSA cheat sheet. Very nice. And then we have a box inside a box. So in this box, more parts. Anybody who's familiar with PRUSA knows that they do an excellent job of labeling up everything. In this bag here, we have the e-box cover and Wi-Fi cover. These are printed parts. We have a nice metal bracket. We have the bag of fasteners. Each bag is individually labelled with a quantity and what is in the bag. More parts. So this bag is the Nextruder bag 2 of 2. Next bag is the Y-carriage bag. The Nextruder bag 1 of 2. The final box. So this box contains the Nextruder, the electronics parts for the kit. I will open this. So in here we have the new improved MK4 Wi-Fi module. Pop that back in the bag. We have the NFC set. So this allows for mobile phone wireless connectivity. We have the PRUSA Nextruder sock. So we have a silicon sock. We also have the new power fan, cooling fan, parts cooling fan. We have some reflective strip, which will be for the LEDs from the screen and the case, and again I will show you the process with that. And we have the Nextruder brass CHT nozzle. This is a 0.4mm nozzle. Apparently these have been produced in collaboration with Bondtech. For those who aren't familiar, Bondtech make incredibly good nozzles that are very effective, efficient and high flow. Critical part, we sell Bondtech nozzles. We will be getting these in stock as soon as they are available. They will be listed on our website. So without further ado, let's dive in. The labels guide. So basically this is referencing the cheat sheet that I've already mentioned. The printed parts versioning. So on the printed parts, PRUSA do literally number the parts to give you an indication as to what revision these parts are. You can then reference to printables which revision that part actually is. Step 6. We are here for you. And that we are. Basically, on the PDF that you get from PRUSA, you have a chat now box. So if you do get stuck or struggle at any point throughout this upgrade, you can ask a question. PRUSA are always relatively quick to come back to you. They do in fact offer 24/7 live chat. I mean, it goes out saying that if you do buy the upgrade kit from us, or you need help with your purchase from us, we will provide support via either email or telephone to help you with any problems that you encounter. Step 9, electronics protection. So basically what they're showing in that is when you're handling anything like a PCB electronic board, please try your very best to keep it in the packaging until you're ready to install the part from one, where you're going to minimize any risk of damage to the board. And when you're handling the board out of the packaging, hold it by the sides of the board. Try not to get any sticky finger marks over any of the components, circuitry or anything like that. Prepare the printer. Unload the filament from the printer. Take off the spool holder. Spool holder removed. Remove the steel sheet. So we will remove the steel sheet. Move the X-axis to the center of the Z-axis. Basically to move this to approximately the middle That's approximately in the middle. I think that will be close enough. Turn the printer off and unplug the power cord. Highlighted with a very, very important sign. Red triangle with a red exclamation mark. No power. You want no power. Very important. Otherwise, you will light yourself up like a Christmas tree. Remove the USB stick from the printer. Somebody has already stolen my USB stick. Lean the printer onto the right side, the one with the power supply on, to gain access to the bottom. We want to tip the machine that way. A very self-explanatory image is upon the screen, and it's showing us the belt attachment assembly, which is below the print bed. From the front side of the Y belt tensioner, completely remove the M3 by 40mm screw. Basically what this part does is clamps the two parts of the belt tensioner together, giving us tension. It is a long screw. It is 40mm long to be precise, according to Joseph's documentation. One screw removed. It is now asking us to remove the screw from the carriage. So, said screws here. I will hold it in case we have twanging motion. Oh, look, see there. See? Carefully remove, and then I will remove the rear one. Carefully remove the belt. You don't want to pull it and snap it. So basically it's asking us to remove the whole Y belt holder from the base of the machine, which we have done. The new Y belt mounting parts preparation. So this bag here, very clearly labelled Y carriage, contains the Y belt tensioner and the Y belt holder. So basically the improved parts that are replacing these parts. So these have been printed in a more durable, heat resistant material. What it's saying here is, you might want to get a close-up of this, Chris. The pulley here is saying that we've removed it in order to take off the carriage. Now, I haven't needed to remove that pulley to remove the carriage. This is very simple, by the way. It literally just hooks in, so I'll keep that safe for a second. That will be secured to the frame with another 2 M310 screws, which will then equal 4. Next step, let's look at these little gizmos. All of you remember the little nylock nut that we removed? For the parts that we have, there is one part that has a clear hexagonal recess. That nut needs to pop it into that recess like so. Then the long screw that we have, just gently wind into the hole. I put my finger over the end so that the knife doesn't push out. What we're wanting is basically to catch the thread. As you can see there, I've got the end of the nut, the end of the screw is flush with the outside of the nut, and then proceed to pull that back to seat it in the recess. So basically the reverse of how we removed it. That is the method you will use to install it. Remove the screw like so. That's step completed. So on to step 7. So now what it is asking us to do, on the one that we've just installed that nylock nut, we have somewhere there is a hole, and it is asking us to fit one of those 30mm screws into that hole like so, and then it is asking us to attach the belt. This is what we have so far. So the belt is routed in this little channel that is serrated to match the pattern of the teeth. You then secure that with that 30mm screw in there. Just wind it in until the head's just below the surface. What that does is presses the plastic out, traps the belt so the belt cannot move. Next up, they're going to install it on the build plate. So there's a hole at the back. Basically, you need to be an octopus. Just ensure when you're putting the screws in, you're not cross-threading anything. This one can be tightened down. Then we want to wrap that around that little pulley there. Run it through that little channel there. And then we want to reinstall the pulley. So again, just line it up. It will pop in place. So you're going to run the belt around that pulley, keeping tension on it. It will then seat that. And as you can see, we have a belt that now needs inserting into this other part. So what we will do here, seat it in like so. You have an elongated hole there. This is to allow for us to tension. Again, we will now secure that belt with another 30mm screw into this hole. I just gently start it off by hand and then proceed to screw it in again until the head is just below the surface, like so. That's secured the belt. Next 30mm screw into the elongated hole, like so, and then we will pop. Oh, there we go. Right, so I've only very vaguely snugged it I don't want it too tight at this point. So the big long screw, we'll remember, that wants to be reinserted into that hole. Now basically what that is doing is grabbing that little nylock nut. Right, top tip guys, use an Allen key to make sure the little nylock nut is pushed home. Now I have tension, so basically we can continue to just wind that screw in until we have the right amount of tension, thereabouts. And once I'm getting it to a point, just use the back of your finger to push the belt down. A medium force should be needed to squish the belt until both parts touch. That part of our journey is complete. Next, it's asking us to tension the belt. So if you push the bed right back, you should be able to press that down and have medium force, as it describes, to touch the other belt. I have a nice tone. Okay, so it's saying what's left. You should have, after that part, just these two printed parts left over. We don't need those. Haribo time. Now treat yourself just to one. I don't have time. Plus, Chris would be very jealous. Done. Let's move on to chapter 3. Removing the LCD. Slide the bed all the way back. If you look at the back of the screen, we have 4 screws. Proceed to undo the screws. Tilt it back on its side while I unplug the bits and pieces. So we have an earthing strap. No, I will remove it with the screw. And then carefully, and I mean carefully, plug. There is no clips on it. It's just very, very snug, like so. So we now remove the screen. So pop them out of the way. Put the machine back on its feet. First thing you need to do, the knob, pull off, chuck it in your tray. The next thing we need to do, remove the 4 screws. So I've already removed this little brass part. Is saying remove the screw, which is here. So we've left with 4 screws. There is 1 there and 2 here. So just undo those. Again, at this point, take care when handling the screen. You don't want to be sticking your fingers all over the back of it. Proceed to lift out the screen. Just be careful. It's quite a snuggy fit. That was just a bit of the reflective strip was stuck to it. The XLCD parts bag. Next up, you now have a complete covered back to the screen. This is, again, a replacement for that. Injection molded, very nice looking, very nice feel. Swish reflective strip ×2. I think you have a spare one in case you make a boo-boo with the other one. So next up it's saying we should have a self-tapping screw, which I can only assume we'll use these to fix the back of the screen to the front of the screen with the board. So we'll pop those there. It's also saying we need this little gizmo. So this is a little tiny dimple in the back of it, basically locks into place. So if I try, there we go. Right, and it's also asking us for 3x12S T-screws, installing the reflective strip. If you see here, we have across there a little recess. So what we want to do is grab one of our reflective strips, peel that off, and then install that like so. Make sure it's well pressed down. Basically, on the base of the screen, we have 3 LEDs. These give the print status from the bottom of your screen, display, UI, touch panel, whatever you want to call it, to let you know the status currently of the machine. Install the screen in the gizmo. Back of the screen you can see we have a serial socket. That's obviously going to line up with that cut out there. So if you just very, very carefully locate that in the tabs, like so. Easy peasy. You've got a little tab here, you've got a little tab there, and then at the side you've got another tab, and you've got another tab at this side, and then if you look through you should see daylight through all 4 holes, which correspond to the holes on the back. That was relatively easy. It wants us to fit the front of the screen to that, so again, easy. We know which way around it goes. The hole here goes over the knob, and it is as simple as that. Okay, so fastening wise, 1, 2, 3 holes. We're not going to touch this one just now. So it wants us to put in the T8s, which are the shorter screws out of the ones that we removed from the bag. So pop that in the hole, grab the correct Allen key. Don't over tighten these, snug them down. All you're doing is sandwiching the screen in between the 2 injection molded parts to make sure it is secure. You do not want to go hell for leather and strip out the plastic, because that wouldn't be good, and all of Joseph's hard work and effort will be in vain. So that's those 3. So 1 there, 2 on this side. This is where our earthing point goes. Is also connected by the same black screw. So tip for this, get your screw, pop the screw through the hole. Use your Torx bit to basically get everything in place. Snug that down so you can get your spade female connector onto there. Your cable will plug back in to the serial connector. So next it wants us to install the knob. So with the reset button pointing down, you want the rotary knob, the flat pointing up. Proceed to press the knob on. Winner, winner. Next up, reconnect the connections. First up, on the serial connector, we've got this pin here. The pin from the connector wants to be to the top, which that is the top. I'm going to plug in the little earth cable first, like so. So that is that sorted. Next, step 11. So now obviously we're going to reattach the screen. Let's move on. Okay, so next up is the Nextruder. This entails us covering the heat bed. So I shall proceed to fold up this to make a cushion on the heated bed to prevent any damage to the heated bed from falling tools or implements, like so. So we've got this into the center. What we need to do on the back, there is a little spring-loaded clip. If you pull that out with your fingernail, you can then remove the cover. On the other side of here, we have a cover. So just here, we've got one little screw. So we undo that and we expose more plugs. So here we unlock like so. Release the two M3 nuts to remove. So your long nose pliers are made for this job. We have to disassemble these little bits and pieces. So I'm going to start to put all of the discarded printed parts in a box so we don't get mixed up, confused or bamboozled. So I want 2 times idler swivels, so 2 of these, and this part, the idler nut. 3 parts in total. So we need to remove the tensioner. It does show on the exploded drawing. You don't want the spring to spring off and lose it. So that is the one we've just removed. This is the one we're going to replace that with. This little spacer, grab one of these, doesn't matter which one, they are identical. Pops through that hole there. You then get the spacer, pop the spacer on there like so. You then proceed to get the other half, pop that through that hole like that. Grab a little nylucky nut, whiz that on the end. Hold that with your spanner. Just tighten lightly. Now we have an image like this, asking us for this part. Pop that in there. Grab your other screw, pop that through the hole. Your nylock nut again. You're not wanting to clamp it right down, just nip it up, because this is a moving part, so you want it to move relatively easily, like so. Now, here's where the fun begins. It's asking us to start disconnecting cableage. Note, there are safety latches on each of the connectors, which must be pushed in order to remove the connector. So basically, down this side of the lug board, there's a little pin. Push the pin in, remove the plug. Push the pin in, remove the plug. We need to remove the one from the top. Again, exactly the same process. And then, exactly the same, push the pin in. Yep. It's a little bit more fiddly because the cable is quite snug. Okay, so we also need to remove the thermistor wire. So that's a little latch. You press that button down, remove that. That is everything we can remove so far. Let's remove the fan assembly. Ooh. So there's the cable for the fan. We've got that out of the way because we're now going to remove this screw. There's no nut on it. It's threaded straight into plastic. Easy peasy. Fan removed. Here you can see the channel because there are wires in it. Proceed to carefully remove the wires from said channel. Just like so. Remove the heat sink, fan and hot end. So here, 2 more screws. Fan removed. Hot end. Undo those. Whoosh. This is why you protect your build plate with a blanket. Right, removing the Nextruder. You've got 1, 2, 3 screws all on this heatsink. These are quite tight. There we go. It's asking us to remove the 2 screws that secure the hot end into the heatsink. 2 screws removed. Now we should uncover the gearbox. 1, 2, 3 screws again in the faceplate cover. This is where the magic happens. This is why PRUSA machines are so good. For those of you who aren't aware, inside this cover is a single gear that basically drives the gearbox to extrude your filament. Now, the theory behind this is that one gear that moves opposed to 2 gears is more accurate and consistent than 2 gears. So your extrusion or filament is more consistent than a dual gear drive system. As you can see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. In the center, your single drive gear. Those screws that we've removed, gently pop those back in there. Insert the 3 screws, do not tighten them too much. 2 or 3 turns are enough. So basically, all it's asking us to do is thread them in. Couple of turns. The little grub screw that is marked down here is blue. It says, so it wants us to remove this. It's a long screw. I'll pop it in there. Lever removed. What I've done to this point is I have disassembled the lever, reassembled it onto the new parts along with the catch, fitted the cover. So basically the reverse of what we did to take it apart, done it backwards and assembled back to what we have here now. So now we have a nice PRUSA MK4S. We now need the 3 screws that we removed from the heatsink, and we will pop them through those 3 holes like so. And then from the opposite side, it wants us to fit the heatsink spacer. It will be that. Just hold your finger on the back and then just press that spacer into place like so. Lug out this way. Next, this part. So with the extruder like that, this cable, just gently have it straight, and then what you want to do is feed that cable through that hole and line it up like so, taking care you've not trapped any of the wires anywhere. Attaching the Nextruder, there is a cutout in the plastic card to guide the thermistor cable. So that is said thermistor cable. So that cable, just poke it down, grab the Nextruder and line it up on the standoffs, and just start off your screws. Say, snug these up like so. We are going to connect the thermistor. So this is this wire through the little cable routing we have, and according to the diagram of the board, our thermistor port is this one right there. So all I've done, routed the cable through that channel, make sure it's nicely positioned, tucked out of the way. So the fan we removed earlier, this fan, the fan needs to be orientated like that. Cable comes out this side, the sticker on the back. The 2 18mm screws we had are going to go in that hole and that hole. That is what you want to have. Then proceed to route that cable through that cutout. Just start off your screws again. You know that they're located correctly, you can wind them in. Don't go mad, just nip these ones up. Fan installed. Cable routing in that little channel. Just take your time, be gentle. And that one, my friends, plugs into the bottom socket like so. Beastie blower is the next part we require. So it's asking us for the blower cover, which is this. We also need the fan cover, which is that one, and we need the fan shroud. On this part we have the 2 slots. In these 2 slots we need to insert 2 of the square nuts. Right, a tip here. As you can see, I've pushed them in flush. They've got to line up with that hole and that hole. Currently they do not line up. The easiest way to make this happen is to get yourself a straight-headed screwdriver. Use that to press in the knot and you eyeball it until just like so they line up beautifully. Repeat that on the opposite side, just like so. It wants us to perform the same miracle on the opposite side. Again, we have a slot there and a slot there. Grab 2 more. If you don't get these quite square to the hole, you will have a hard time getting them in. So that's 1, 2, and again you can see that they're not lined up, so we'll just do that again. Screwdriver, press them in, lined up. Repeat it with the opposite one. The duct has 1 slot, last remaining square nut, pop it in. That is very, very snug. You don't want to be squashing that. This here is solid, so all I did is I placed a solid part over the edge of the table and then pressed it in with my screwdriver, because I know that way I'm not at risk of crushing and breaking anything. Right, so now it wants us to mount the fan into this housing. It is showing me on the diagram that I have in front of me the cable and the sticker like so. We slide that into the housing like so, and the cable, just get it in that little tab. So basically start it off and then just gently press the wires in with your fingernail. Do not use the screwdriver. And then right at the very end you'll see that there's no cutout for that, and it appears in the diagram. That is how it goes. So here's the cover. if you look at the print, you've got a chamfered side that wants to be going up like so. Here you have a little square which is made perfectly for the wire. So the two 8mm self-tapping screws that we have, we're going to use to secure this together. Again, don't go mad. It's plastic and plastic. You don't want to break it or strip it. You're just using it to secure that cover plate in place. And that, my friends, is what you should have. Okay, so now we're going to install the ducty. All we need to do, 2 tabs, 2 cutouts. Angle the tabs into the cutouts. So yeah, a little bit of wiggling. That then falls into place. One of the little screws into that hole gently, and just make sure that it catches the threads that we've put in with that square nut. Now we can proceed to mounting the fan. Same hole through the metal. So on the back of the cover you have slots. So basically the little metal bracket slides in between the outer cover and the back cover, so you can't see the ends. And we will, again, I've just pressed that on to line up the holes that I can see. You do need your old hot end, and we have to now manhandle the parts. And that was easy. I was a little bit concerned that that might be a bit of a pain to get out of there because it's cold. Aesthetically, they are identical. So I can only assume within this nozzle is the CHT 3 flutes that allow higher flow. New nozzle, back in, start it off with your fingers, grab the spanner as shown. Make sure you do this the right way. I would give you a tip, I wouldn't go mad because it's brass into aluminium. So fitting this is the reverse of the removal. I would recommend that you first take your 2 screws and place them back in the said holes. Couple of turns in, don't go mad because otherwise you will not get the nozzle in there. We could get really clever. We'll fit the silicone sock now. Basically what that does is insulates the hot end, makes your hot end more efficient. So I have now fitted that. Now we will go underneath and find the hole where we need to insert it. This one on the top, because we know exactly that plugs into there. The black one, we know, plugs into there. I would recommend routing these back in that little fiddly channel, just to make everything neat and tidily, connecting the hot end cables. Top. The last one is the fan. And then on this side of the board, we only have 2 wires. You can only plug these into the correct one because they are different sizes. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. The magical door. So the door needs to be reinstalled to cover up all of these cables. That goes like that. We are nearly there. Come around this side of the machine. Make sure that these cables are tucked out of the way. Don't want to trap these now at this point of the game. Just like that, bingo bango, we've covered up the cables. And then this, just get them tucked out of the way. Nextruder complete. Upgrading the connectivity. We're going to remove the 4 screws from my favourite part, the buddy box. This is the brains of the outfit. Unleash the buddy board. And now, it wants us to remove this part here. Just like so. Please do not be intimidated by this part. You do not need to mess, tinker or fiddle with any of these connections inside here. So the next step is the hotbed cable cover. 2 screws, like so. Remove the Wi-Fi screw. We have removed the Wi-Fi screw. Next, remove the Wi-Fi card. Right, okay, so if you look at this very carefully, finger, thumb, pull. Do not try and pull it sideways. You will destroy everything. Okay. We need more parts. Just so you know, guys and girls, this replaces this, this replaces this. So first up, it's asking us to grab this piece with it orientated in such a manner. Remember what I said, hold the board on the sides, try not to grab it that way. So we want to fish that in the recess and line up the little pluggy like so. That socket, it'll line those pins up with that socket like so. And we're going to secure that in place with 3 12mm M3 screws. Next, we want this part. Okay, so it wants us to remove this from the packaging. Very careful. There is a very thin cable in here. So we have the board, the antenna cable, and the 3M pad. You have writing on this side. Don't stick the pad on this side. Get your 3M pad, peel off the yellow bit, get the pad, and apply it like so. So if you're looking like that, that is where you want to be putting it. The easiest way to do that is to peel off like so, hold the board at an angle like so, So it's tucked into there, press it down, gently rub that into place, done. If you look very closely at the board, there is a tiny socket right there. And all you want to do is locate, clicks into place. We need to now attach the other end of this to the buddy board. You can just about see the other socket there, and it is actually labelled on the board NFC. Voila! 2 screws, but fiddly to line up. Last thing to do before we move on, attach the serial number. So obviously if you've already got a pre-built machine or even a kit version, you've already got the sticker here. It's telling us to remove the sticker and replace it with a new sticker. We now have a MK4S, ladies and gentlemen. So I will now, wrong way, fit the buildy plate, reattach our spool holder, firmware updating. Download the latest firmware and save it onto the USB. Right, so first thing that you need to do for anybody who's unfamiliar with flashing firmware to the Prusa is you need to make sure that you remove the previous firmware version. On your computer, go to PRUSA IO MK4S, and we want to download the firmware version 6.1.3. Obviously, by the time any of you guys watch this video, this may be outdated. It could possibly be a higher number. This is the version that we are going to install that was released on the 4th of September 2024. Click download. I shall then go back to the USB drive, and then I shall then drag and drop that file onto the USB drive. Insert the USB drive into the printer. I have no power at this point to the printer, so pop that in, then grab your power cable, making sure that the socket on the back of the power supply is in the off position. Plug your power supply in, click on the printer. We are now flashing our firmware. Okay, so there is a few other steps, and I will spin this around so I can read and follow the instructions. After upgrading to the newer firmware, navigate to settings. So we'll use the scroll bar to scroll to settings, and then it says select hardware. So I'll scroll down the list. I will select hardware. Printer type. Literally it was defaulted to MK4. Press the button once, it then selects to MK4S. Leave the other items unchanged unless you installed custom parts on the printer, e.g. nozzle with a different diameter, silicon sock removal, blah de blah de blah. Now let's run the self-test to check the entire printer and ensure everything is plugged in and assemble correctly. The one thing that this could possibly fail on if we didn't tension the belt correctly will be the bed, but we will see. And we passed. Ka-ching! Gearbox alignment. Now we're going to do this because we have played around with the extruder. That is the calibration process complete. We have gone through the whole process. We are now good to go. Okay, so we have sliced the file under the new PRUSA slicer profile for the MK4S. We selected 0.4 nozzle high flow, sliced the benchy, and voila, one benchy. Printed in PRUSA Galaxy Black, one of our favourite colours of the PRUSA range. Link to this will also be included in the description. Please check out the website for this colour and many more. So to summarise, basically this upgrade isn't really technically demanding in any way. The instructions that you do get on the PDF file on PRUSA's website are very comprehensive. I'll just go over a few points that you may have missed or been confused about. So this part for the Nextruder is basically included in the kit if you had an older version of the MK4 that you're upgrading. So I would assume this will be for the people that have upgraded the MK3 to the MK4. We didn't need it. We have a relatively new version of the MK4, so this was not needed. And this little gizmo here is basically what you use to align the gears in the gearbox after you have fitted this part. So those are not needed. In summary, if you want to keep your PRUSA current and modern, this is a very definite worthwhile upgrade. The functionality you've got, even just to be able to send files directly from your mobile phone off of the PRUSA website is a win. It just makes slicing and sending files really, really easy. You can monitor them on your app. They will give you push notifications to tell you when the print's done and all of that kind of stuff. And then obviously you've got the scope then to, you know, do the other bits and pieces like GPO 10 board, I believe it is another upgrade that you can add. It'll basically allow you to program a lot of stuff within the machine. You will be able to like script in time-lapse photography and all of that kind of stuff. So again, this upgrade gives you the usability for that, because you can then plug that straight into the back of the Wi-Fi module. So it's giving you another interface basically to tweak, tune the machine, personalize it however you want. So I do hope you have enjoyed this video and found it informative and helpful. If you would like to purchase the kit, the MK4, the MK4S, PRUSA filament, or anything PRUSA related, please do check out the link in the description. We are an authorized UK PRUSA stockist, and we work closely with PRUSA to ensure that all of our customers here in the UK do get the very best support. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have got any questions, please drop them in the comments box below. We'll do our utmost to come back to you as quickly as possible. And always, please do not forget to like, subscribe and share. Goodbye for now. We will see you on the next one.
As always, we aim to have the most competitive 3D printer prices on the market. If you see any of our printers being sold by a mainstream retailer for less, please drop us an email using the link in the description and we'll do our very best to beat their price. Also, if you're watching from outside the UK, check the description for links to our European 123 3D sister stores.